So at Unity, like we just did, we pray at every service. And this is something so special. You know, Jen and I just really loved it from the first service that we were here at. And I've never been to a church where we had this prayer practice. Isn't it beautiful? And it had me convinced that this is the unity that I want to be a part of. Your prayer is my prayer too. There's something magical, and I'm going to talk a lot about prayer today. There's something magical when you pray for another person. And at Unity, we often talk about spiritual tools and practices, and there are many. Meditation, dancing, spiritual study. There's so many spiritual tools. But the most important spiritual tool in all of Unity, perhaps, is prayer. The fourth principle of Unity says that prayer is how we align with God. And I like to think of prayer as communion with God, or conversation with God, or dialogue with God. And you can think of prayer as focused thought. You know, that's how you can appreciate its implications in quantum physics to change its energy. Prayer is pure energy, focused thought. And it leads me to these questions which might help us expand our idea of prayer. And I talked about these a little bit in the prayer class, but this is not going to be the same as the prayer class. This is going to be an accompaniment to it. And whether you took that prayer class or not, I hope you find this meaningful. But the questions are, when do you pray? What do you pray for? And when you pray, who or what do you believe you're praying to? And what are you talking from? What consciousness are you talking from when you pray? Now think about that for a moment. And there is no right or wrong answer to these questions, but I invite you to think of this talk as an invitation to expand your idea of prayer. That's what today is about, an invitation to expand your idea of prayer. And in doing so, we also have to expand our idea in terms of what we pray to, and that is the God of our understanding. For many of us, we learn to pray in a way that is so ingrained in our system that we don't always realize that the way we pray is kind of outdated in terms of what we believe about God. For instance, does this sound familiar? Oh God, please give me that job. Oh God, please, 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 please do this. That energy feels familiar, doesn't it? Raise your hand if you've ever prayed like that. I think we all have. And I can imagine God answering, maybe saying, well, David, since you're begging so well, I think I will grant you that prayer. And you've been such a good boy that I think I'm going to grant you that prayer probably 4 years from now, but I won't tell you. So it kind of, what are we expecting God to answer back? So there is this feeling that because many of us were raised with this punishing, judging God, God ends up looking a lot like Santa Claus. If you're naughty, you're not going to get the toys, and if you're nice, you will. God ends up looking a lot like the archetypical parent, except it's a parent in the sky. It's dad or granddad or some, male entity wearing a beard, wearing a white robe, right? Surrounded by what? Angels. Clouds. Got to put some clouds in there. Who's at his right hand?
St. Peter, right?
Satan? No, St. Peter?
Yeah.
Jesus, seated at the right hand of God, yeah. Saints could be up there. But yeah, whatever it is that you kind of picture in your subconscious or that has been fed in your subconscious, like there's maybe some golden gates up there, not like the Golden Gate Bridge, but, and then there's this question, is God male? Is God female? Is God neither? Is God both? Something to think about. I reflected on the childhood prayer that I learned that I thought was a thing I could Google search and find this exact prayer. Well, here is the prayer. Infant Jesus, meek and mild, pity me, a little child. Okay, that's where the Google search ends and Ancestry took over, and somehow this was taught to me. Take my heart and bless it, and let no evil ever possess it. Oh, how sweet. But is it really? It's like this child who's, oh gosh, if evil is going to possess me if I don't pray, what kind of evil is that? And what's going to happen to me? I mean, it's not a very, it's not a very kind thing for a small child. So I Google searched this, and I found this website that lists popular children's prayers. One of them is, Infant Jesus, meek and mild, pity me, a little child. Look on me, a little child. Pity me and pity mine. Suffer me to come to thee. Suffer me to come to thee. What? I don't even know what that means. Do you? So it's written in Old English. Then there was another one. This one had a title above it. And this is popular children's prayers through history. It's called For the Little Ones. Infant Jesus, come to me. What father, mother, and teacher say, I'll do it once. Yes, right away. And all that they want, I must fulfill. And should wicked Satan come to me and say, walk my way, little friend, I'll say, no, 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 I'm only going with Jesus. So I read these things. Yes, they're, I was reading some of the Christmas carols last year. The full lyrics. Michael knows some of these. Joy to the world. There's a verse in there that's like, what? And famous. People just delete that. Churches just, oh yeah, we're going to delete that verse because it just doesn't make sense. It's too scary. So it brings up these questions about what is God, because what is God affects how we pray. So I'm here to say that our logical minds may say, all right, I believe that God is this and this and this. We say it every Sunday. God is the one presence and one power. But our inner child may need an update, an upgrade, a reboot, a reset, as our inner child is still holding on to a lot of these visions, a lot of these misconceptions. So we can gently bring our inner child by the hand. Karen Drucker, most of her songs come from that basis. I will be gentle with myself. I mean, she's talking so much to our inner child. We have to do that and say, hey, I didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing to be forgiven. You're not a sinner. You're not going to go to hell. You have to convince yourself of all these things because part of you deep inside may still believe some of these things. Maybe. There are some people here who may have grown up with religious science or new thought from day one and don't have these things, but most of us do. When Michael sings, "You are the face of God," that's another way of, all these songs remind us when we forget who we really are, that we're divine, and that we're not a sinner. So one thing that I talked about almost exactly a year ago today was the three faces of God, and I want to touch upon this because these three faces of God just illuminate how we view God. And Jen, if you could just go to this first slide. This is a concept that a New Thought author came up with, and the first face of God is the third person. You're talking about God. So if we just say God is the one presence and one power, my God is awesome. If we say nothing is impossible in God, we're talking about God. It's very much the worship and devotion kind of mode of talking to God. Then the next slide is talking to God in the second person. This is a wonderful place to begin, and it maybe is a place that gives you the most comfort when you're in crisis. It's the voice of God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. It's the voice of the meta prayer, may all beings be happy. the song that Michael sang last week. May I be happy, may she be happy. We're talking to God. But it's great to be aware and use this mode of prayer if need be, but be aware that we can sometimes get stuck in here because this is the prayer of requesting things of God because I am not God. That's what it can be. So I invite us to explore. The unity goes into the third step, which I'll share in a moment, but it's inspired. Well, I'm inspired by what Michael Beckwith said. We're not here to make God be God. We're here to let God be God as our lives. We're not here to ask God to be God. We're here to let God be God through our lives. And so that brings me to the next slide, which is talking about God in the first person is recognizing our own divinity. I am the face of God. That's where it begins. And in the prayer class recently, we talked about the 5 prayer steps of unity, and they take advantage of and they use as their basis this first-person conversation. All of New Thought uses this first-person conversation. But in studying for this prayer class, I realized not all unities agree what the 5 prayer steps are or how to interpret them or what to name them. And CSL has a slightly different twist, Centers for Spiritual Living, and our other sister religion, Agape, has a slightly different twist. And so I put them all on a spreadsheet, and I just said, what are the common denominators of all of these steps? And so that's where I came up with this. It's 3 things. God is all there is. God is, right? I'm one with God. So are you. And from that, therefore, I have the power to co-create. We are creative creatures. We're here to co-create. We say it every Sunday. We say all these things. So let me just talk about these one at a time. God is all there is. Next slide. This is the spot where there is no spot where God is not. So if there's no spot where God is not, God is here. God is nearer than hands and feet. God is within me, but God is within you. And separation, I don't know who said this, separation is just a grand illusion of consciousness. I believe Albert Einstein said separation is an optical illusion of consciousness, right? We are connected. So that's why we light that candle as a reminder that we all are connected to this light called divinity. And I will say this, if there's one thing you take away from this talk, when in doubt, in terms of praying, just go to this first step, God. There's a book by Matthew Fox. It's called The Golden Key. And the golden key, they say, you don't have to read the rest of this book. You just have to know, just think of God. Just think of God. And when you think of God, miracles will happen. The other day, I was really troubled. I needed some guidance. I was upset about something, and so I was really tired, and I laid down, and I didn't have the energy to think about prayer steps. I didn't have the energy to go straight to affirmational prayer. So I just decided to commune with God, and just like I was laying there with my God self, not separate from God. And there's a reverend named Reverend Jane Beach, and she used to call this her God time. And she would say, oh yeah, no, I'm not going to go do that. I'm going to go home. I'm going to have some God time. And she would tell people about this special time that she would set aside, just her and God. So that's what this is. God is all there is. And if God is all there is, then God is love, light, harmony, joy, peace, abundance, guidance, all those things. And then comes the next step. I'm one with God. So if I'm one with God and I'm divine, I'm all of these things too. There's a saying that goes, all these things God is, I am. all these things God is, I am. I am. Okay, so this is where we start to get into affirmations. And I don't really want to talk about the technicality of it. I just want you to capture, if God is all there is, and I'm divine too, leads me to the next slide. I co-create. I co-create. And I put some words up here that I taught in the prayer class based upon Unity teachings and New Thought teachings. And it's, I am, I affirm, I see, I know, I have. And when you do these things, fill in the blank. If you're praying, if your bank account balance is getting low, instead of saying, God, please, please help me bring my bank account balance up. God, please put some more money in there. It's coming from a powerful place of, I am tapped in to an infinite source, an infinite supply of abundance that is inexhaustible and has always been there for me and always will be there for me, guided by grace. So it's this kind of active, present tense language, speaking as if you already have it. Speaking as if you already have it. So I see prosperity. I see transactions coming to me. I know security. I have prosperity. So you see how that language works? Just try it right now. Just try to think of a problem. Something you desire to manifest, perhaps. And think about yourself attracting that, or as some people would say, you're already radiating that, because you are that. So I am, whatever it is, wholeness, love, abundance, harmony, healing, peace, radiance, joy. I see myself moving through the day filled with this, you fill in the blank. I have an inexhaustible supply of this, speaking as if you already have it, knowing that you already have it. So something else, and it's praying for others. And if you are, they say when you're tired, the first thing, counting sheep. What's the other thing that we can count when we're tired but we can't sleep? Count blessings, gratitudes, right? I have one more idea for you. This is an awesome one. Try to just start praying for people one at a time in your head. Just think. And use the language in this next slide. So it's the same thing now. Instead of I am, it's he is, she is, they are, we are, I see. So let's use this language right now. Let's think about, I'll use the people of Gaza. They are experiencing abundance. They are coming into the miracle of peace. I see children playing again. I see a radical transformation that has nothing to do with war. I see a peace between peoples that have been warring for centuries. All things are possible in God. So I know that I see past this condition to the ultimate truth, to the absolute truth about the Middle East. The absolute truth about the Middle East is this condition is passing. Healing is on the way. People are seeing each other. There is something shifting in the planet right now. This is why I chose to be here today. I hold high watch. I hold this vision. I see and I know peace. I am an emissary of peace for this region, for Ukraine, for Russia, for Venezuela, for the United States, for Canada, Mexico, China, Japan, the European Union, the peoples of Africa, Australia. Just thinking about this candle, I see and I know the harmony and the divine order that is underlying and back of all things. I'm grateful for this peace. I'm grateful for this realization, knowing that its work is beginning right now. And so it is. And so it is, yeah. I am complete. Thank you for this prayer journey.